Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. A white woman in Minnesota raised over $500,000 in an online fundraiser after calling a black autistic boy the N-word. Now, according to reports, Shiloh Hendrix, a white female mother, allegedly caught a black autistic boy rifling through her bag in a playground in Rochester, and as she caught this boy rifling through her bag, she then called this boy, 5-year-old boy, the N-word, and all of this was caught on camera in a video that went viral on social media. And as this video went viral, Shiloh Hendrix had to deal with all of the public backlash as related to her racism, and as she had to deal with the public backlash as related to her racist behavior, she then looked to make herself out to be a victim as related to this entire situation. And as she looked to make herself to be a victim in this situation, she then looked to go out here and raise funds on GoFundMe, and has raised over $500,000 for supposed relocation costs to move her and her family to a so-called safer location where she wouldn't have to deal with the public backlash as related to her egregious racist behavior. Now, what's really going on here as related to Shiloh Hendrix is that we have another one of these Karens basically trying to reframe the narrative of her racist behavior, trying to make herself out to be a victim. And as she looked to make herself out to be the victim in this situation, she's hoping to go out here and use a crowdfunding platform to be able to finance her moving to a so-called safer location, and trying to make it like she needs to have these funds. But I don't know what's more disturbing here, the fact that she's out here playing herself to be a victim, or the fact that she is out here not being held accountable for her racist behavior. But in today's modern America, where the orange man is president, what I see here is that we've got a lot of these white females who are racist, who are feeling emboldened, and that's why Shiloh Hendrix basically felt comfortable about using that racial slur towards that autistic black boy. Now, in many cases, what happens in these situations is that sometimes you'll see some child go through your bag, and again, you'll check the child and then check the parents, and that'll be the end of it. But the fact that this woman used this racial slur showed her hatred for black people, and again, showed her hatred for black people as related to this whole situation. But what I find to be more disturbing is as this woman is showing her clear hatred for black people, she is out here looking to try to create a narrative that where she is a victim of this black boy, again, a boy who has a disability and doesn't know what he's doing. Again, when you have a child who doesn't know what they're doing, you have to try to be understanding. But this woman didn't understand anything except that this child had a certain skin color, and because this child had a certain skin color, this is why she felt enraged and wanted to again lash out at this child, because she wanted to lash out at black people. Now, with this whole situation with the GoFundMe, what I see here is more racists, again, getting caught up in their feelings several ways. One way they're getting caught up is because some of these guys who are cyber simps basically see this white racist female being blonde and so-called attractive, and what they're looking to do is donate money to this woman, hoping to create a covert contract where they can go out here and support this woman, and believe that if they support this woman, they'll be, one, thinking they're doing the right thing, and two, think they will get an opportunity with this woman. Then there are many of these racists who are caught up in politics as related to certain issues, like the whole situation with Kyle Rittenhouse. A lot of people supported Kyle Rittenhouse and went to donate to his whole fund because of his egregious behavior, hoping to again look to get a pass as related to white supremacy, hope to give him that white pass and fund him getting that white pass. And those people were out here spending money as related to that situation, and there were people out here looking to spend money on the case of that situation, and others are basically looking to spite the whole situation with Carmelo Anthony. Now, Carmelo Anthony wound up raising a lot of money as related to his self-defense fund, and these people basically what they want to do is they're in their feelings because Carmelo Anthony, one, raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, two, got out on bail, and is now free. And what they want to do is spite Carmelo Anthony by looking to have it where this woman gets more money. And again, that's why this woman has got $500,000 in her GoFundMe. And when I look at the whole situation with this woman, Shiloh Hendrix, getting $500,000, it's a sad state of affairs about our United States of America that this woman has $500,000 and shows us how backwards we are as a country. Now here you have a woman who made a racial slur, and she's getting $500,000 raised on this crowdfunding platform, and that shows me how many people are feeling emboldened about participating in anti-black racism, and part of it, I believe, is due to the orange man being in office. Many of these people feel like it's okay to support racism openly because he's in office, and because he's in office, they feel like it's okay to go out here and support a woman who openly uses the N-word, towards a child. Again, this is a special brand of evil. This is the type of white woman I try to tell people about. Again, this is the woman who's supposed to be the first teacher to culture, and we see a textbook example of her teaching her child anti-black racism right here in that Minnesota park in a blue state. In a blue state that's supposed to be so open and so tolerant, we see this white woman openly participating in anti-black racism and participating in this anti-black racism right in front of everyone. And what's sad is that we've got this woman, again, able to raise this $500,000, but in a white supremacist country, it basically is business as usual, and that's where I got a bone to pick with the whole organization of GoFundMe or the crowdfunder involved. Now, when it comes to these crowdfunders, they're supposed to have guidelines and policies as related to who gets funded, and in this case, I would love to believe that when it comes to GoFundMe, they would be out here looking to say that this whole situation is one they don't want to fund because it's optically bad for their brand. One, to be out here supporting a woman who used a racial slur, and that this woman's so-called relocation costs are a violation of their guidelines and their whole policies as related to their terms of service. I would like to believe that that would be the thing that would lead to the end of this GoFundMe and all this money be sent back to these donors, because I don't know what's more disturbing, the fact that you've got these donors, again, eager to donate to an open racist, or the fact that you've got a platform that allows this to remain on their platform. Because I've seen people out here, again, like Aaron the plumber, wind up not getting their money because they had been seen as a fraud. And if Aaron the plumber, who basically told a lie to some people that he had gone out here and said that he was fired from a job that he never, according to some records, had as related to being a plumber, for making an appearance on a Pop the Balloon show. Okay, the actual name of the funding platform is Give, Send, Go, and it's one of these far-right platforms And you would think that they would want to take down this campaign because it violates their terms of service. And when I talk about GoFundMe in this video, I'm actually meaning GiveSendGo. So I just want people to know that the actual platform is GiveSendGo. I would like to think that GoFundMe would remove this whole campaign because it's definitely, as I see it, a violation of their terms of service. I mean, here you have a woman participating in open racist hate speech, and she's talking about relocation expenses. And again, that I believe goes against the entire platform's good faith and its integrity. And that's where I believe part of foundational Black Americans have to call things out. I mean, yes, we know that this white female is a racist and is a part of a culture of racism that has been emboldened by the election of the orange man, but we have to hold this company accountable if they disseminate those funds. That's where we have to take part of our issues with this whole situation. The other part we need to deal with is getting together on a Black agenda, because it's behavior like this is why we need an anti-Black hate crime bill, because when it comes to a lot of people, they feel emboldened to participate in anti-Black racism. They feel emboldened to participate in anti-Black racism because there is no anti-Black hate crime bill in place to hold these people accountable all across the country on a federal level. Now, I find it interesting, again, we have an anti-Asian hate crime bill when Black people clearly are the ones who have to deal with anti-Black racism on a regular basis. And as we have to deal with anti-Black racism on a regular basis from white females like this, white females who basically are the ones who are teaching a culture of anti-Black racism to their children. I mean, that's what we see right here on this park in Minnesota here in 2025. I mean, here we are 25 years into the 21st century, and we still see how anti-Black racism is the foundation for things for some of these white folks. And they want to feel emboldened to take us back to the 20th century when they felt like they could, again, openly participate in this type of behavior all across the country like they did during the days of Jim Crow. That's what they believe is making America great again, making it great for them to be able to openly participate in anti-Black racism, be able to call Black people the N-word, and have a world where that's their ideal. That's what many of these white racists want to take us back to, and taking us back to that era is like taking us back to the Stone Age, because again, we are in the 21st century, and these people want to take us back 100 years later. I mean, if you really think about it critically, again, in about 25 years, the 1950s are gonna be 100 years ago, and these people want to take us all the way back 100 years in the past. That's how, again, primitive these folks are. They think that America's best years were 100 years ago, no different than the slave masters who basically wanted to keep us in their old Southern tradition, which has become the American way. I mean, when I think about the old Southern tradition, it's no different than these people talking about the American way, because their American way is anti-Black racism, keeping Black people at the bottom. Now, I know some of these racists are going to say, oh, that 5-year-old was going in the bag, but the whole thing is a 5-year-old with autism doesn't know anything. Again, a 5-year-old with autism, they act on their impulses because they don't understand the world. Again, a person with a mental disability doesn't understand what they're doing, but a person who is supposedly normal and can openly hate someone, they know what they're doing, and this white woman knew what she was doing, and that's why she needs to be held accountable, and again, held accountable and punished by society, not rewarded with money from a bunch of racist simps online, a bunch of racist simps who basically, again, are hiding behind the anonymity of the internet by giving these donations to this blonde white woman, giving $500,000 to a white woman who just continue supporting her in her hate. And I don't know what's more disturbing, either the behavior of these simps or the behavior of GoFundMe, because again, for a crowdfunding platform, the job here is to again say this violates our terms of service, and this whole funding campaign is terminated. That's the only outcome that can come out of this situation, and I find it disturbing that GoFundMe is very silent as related to this situation. I mean, if someone is out here violating your terms of service, then that need to be taken down. But I find their inactivity in this situation to be quite troubling. And again, this is where, again, I say foundational black Americans, if we see them give this white woman that money, then we need to take our business elsewhere, because this optically shows us they support anti-black racism. And if they're going to support anti-black racism, then we don't need to fund GoFundMe or wage campaigns with them. No, we don't need to go out here and wage campaigns with them. And we can't support a business that's not about supporting our business. I mean, that's what we have to understand. I mean, a lot of people, again, we think about this whole situation. And again, some people wanted my thoughts on this situation. But when I hear the whole story of this white woman, again, this just shows us where the foundations of their racism is. Again, a lot of folks, we think that the white man is the racist, but the white man, well, who did he learn his racism from? Critical question I gotta ask, because when we look at this situation, we see that the white man learned his racism from that white woman, and as he learned that whole racism from white women, she's the one who taught him how to behave. And we see that sadly in this 21st century, all the anti-black racism is basically being continued to be perpetuated by a generation of Karens, a generation of Karens who came up from Generation X and millennials. And like Mr. Superboy used to say, it's troubling that this new generation is more racist than the previous generations. I mean, our generation, Generation X, was supposed to be the ideal one, but that really wasn't the case. I saw here in New York, I basically saw how that culture was passed as related to incidents like Bernie Getz, incidents like the incident with Michael Griffith in Howard Beach, and many incidents like Eleanor Bumpers. I saw how that racism was passed on. And I remember being on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, how a guy said, oh, the 80s and the 90s weren't racist. And I had to sit down and talk about incidents with like the late James Byrd Jr., who wound up getting dragged by a bunch of racists in the 90s. And as he got dragged under a train, under a truck by some racists, this all went on. And a lot of people don't want to see the racism going on in this country and the culture of racism that continues on in this 21st century from a bunch of barbarians who want to take us back to the 20th century and their golden age. A golden age which basically takes us back to a stone age where everybody's at the bottom of the world. And again, black people are at the bottom in their world. To make it smooth, they want to take us back to the 1950s, again, 100 years ago, where they can feel open about calling people the N-word and disrespecting black people. And they think that's progress, but that's not progress at all. No, what they want to do is again take us back. And again, this is where companies like GoFundMe have to step in, and again, in this type of platform, because no right-minded American can sit there and say a company is doing right by giving a racist $500,000. Again, that's not optically good for your brand. It's not optically good for your brand to have this white woman get this money, and it really shows a sad state of affairs as related to America, because this is not greatness. This is just plain unethical behavior all around. I mean, this is just sad all around. And black people, again, our whole fight is for that anti-black hate crime bill, because that's the tangible we need to be able to deal with women like this. and let them know where there's a boundary as related to their anti-black racism and how they'll be held accountable for participating in that egregious behavior. Now, if you want to pick up some of my books that feature positive images of foundational black Americans, you can check out my books on the SJS Direct imprint on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. Now, if you'd like to see me continue to make videos about different topics, now viewers wanted me to talk about this, but none of these people seem to want to drop a donation to the Cash App to request these kind of videos. So it'd be greatly appreciated if you guys could drop some money on the Cash App or the PayPal by clicking the links in the description box and basically helping to support this channel so I can stay on the air. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.